Hey guys, I want to talk about the pros and cons of a virtual private server, a VPS, versus dedicated hosting. Now, I used both, and I used dedicated hosting for many years, and now I've moved over everything to VPS. So let me give you a quick run through. Dedicated hosting is you get your own physical box. It's not shared with anybody, your own hardware, your own hard drive, etc., etc. The cost for that could be as low as $100 a month and much higher. The advantage of that is that you have full control. You don't have to worry about somebody running up, slowing down the web server because their website gets attacked by some DOS or something. It gives you a lot of control, total control. The problem with the traditional dedicated server is that you have a single point of failure, meaning if the hard drive fails, you're down. If the CPU fails, you're down. The power supply is down, goes down. Your site is down because you got to go in there and fix it. Now, the modern hosting companies who provide physical servers for you, they'll have a team. They'll come in. They'll fix things. So it could be that could be fine. But you may have a situation when you have a physical server, physical dedicated server, where your site will be down because of hardware failure. Now, I had dedicated servers for 10 years or so, or longer, maybe like 15, and I had hardware failures maybe twice. I was down for 20 minutes, so it's not like a huge issue, unless you got some site where you cannot afford to ever be down. Keep that in mind. Also, in terms of hard drive failure, I'm going to mention it because some people are going to mention it. If you get a physical server, you want to get yourself a physical hardware RAID with at least 2 disks. So if one hard drive fails, the other one just takes over, and they hot swap, put another one in, and everything's good. Bob's your uncle, fantastic. The other downside with a physical dedicated server is that when you need to upgrade, let's say your site starts building up, your app starts building up. Something happened to me recently where it's getting in a lot more users and everything was starting to really slow down. Now, if you're on a physical dedicated server, to upgrade it is a real pain. There's going to be downside, whether you try to add RAM or add CPU or increase the disk size or speed, or maybe you're just going to have to switch to a whole brand new physical dedicated server. You got to keep that in mind as well, because that's some downtime there, major hassles. And I can tell you from the point of view as an app developer, even if let's say you have your app, some complex app like Studio Web, and you move and you have one physical dedicated server with this OS, this Apache, this hardware, and you move to another physical dedicated server to upgrade because you need the power, and you have the same operating system and the same software, I can tell you from my experience, there's almost always going to be problems of configuration. Always going to be problems of configuration because they're not the same machine. So you got to keep that in mind. And that could delay you hours, if not a day or two, trying to configure things on a new server. So if you're in a physical dedicated server, what you got to do is you got to plan on some overlay, if you will, where you're retiring server 1 to go to server 2 because you need the power. Be sure that you have server 2 all configured, running, and tested for a few days, at least a few days before you transfer from the old server to the new. So just you can account for any downtime you're going to have and configuration issues you're going to have. Virtual private servers are basically cloud-based hosting where you basically get a virtualized server, but it's on, depending on the hosting company, it could be either on one big box that's shared by many people, or it could be distributed across many physical boxes. That's the ideal situation. And the advantage of the VPS is that your whole server is virtualized within a box. So if a piece of hardware fails, there'll be other hardware to take up its slack. So there should be no downtime. That's huge. That's huge, right? Because you don't want downtime. The other big advantage of VPS is because it's a virtualized server, it can be upgraded super easily. So let's say you start off, you got 2 CPUs and 4 gig of RAM and a 40 gig hard drive, and all of a sudden you start getting popular, then you can, within just a minute, double the speed, quadruple the speed, quintuple the speed. That's what I did recently, where I was getting an influx of users. It was like the software was getting really slow, so I could just go click, click, and within a minute, I doubled the speed. And then 2 weeks later, I had even much more users. I went click, click, I doubled the speed again. And that's something you cannot do with a dedicated physical server, that ability to just go boop and upgrade. Also, with virtual private servers, you can easily move it and clone it to different virtual private servers. I guess it's like the same as the upgrade. So when you get a virtual private server, you are basically exchanging maybe ultimate like power versus dollar. Like you probably get more bang for your buck in terms of raw power with the physical server, but you're replacing that raw power with flexibility and infinite scalability, meaning your app can adapt. You can add more horsepower to your app with very little effort. And depending on the service provider, the hosting company, they'll take care of auto backups and auto restores and all kinds of other stuff. So one of the hosts that I'm using now, they do all that. They take care of the backups, they take care of the patching of the server, they take care of all the updates to the underlying hardware and software. That's another thing I forgot to mention with the physical servers, physical dedicated servers. You are oftentimes responsible to maintain the underlying software, the server software, whether it be your MySQL installation, your Apache installation, and so on. Whereas with the VPS, the good ones, they take care of all of that for you. You don't have to worry about that. So you can spend your time being an app developer or marketing your app rather than having to deal with managing servers and being a network administrator or a server administrator rather. And that's crucial. Like I know server administration, I used to run my own Windows servers in-house actually, but it's just like you have to make a choice at some point. Are you going to be somebody who runs a server or somebody who's running your business? For me, I rather run my business. All right, I hope this video helps. Bye-bye.